Well, welcome back to my channel, The Little Green Car. This is another video of, you know, kind of off the top of my head. Just a little something that, didn't have much to do with model making, leather working, cane making, or whatever. Just a little chat, about life in general and about grandkids and dogs. Those are some of the things that I think are really important in life. And relationships that you have with your grandkids and kids. I've been fortunate, I've been married for 58 years in June, and my wife and I raised a couple of kids, a boy and a girl. And, we didn't have a lot of trouble with our kids. They were really active in sports and athletics, and I think if you keep them, keep them grounded and when you tell them something, you follow through on promises that you make, whether they're good or bad. Whether you tell them you're going to punish them for, doing something wrong, then, even if you don't want to do it, you got to follow through with that. So they know that you're a person of your word. And my wife was a great disciplinarian. Being a school teacher, she didn't tolerate misbehavior at all. And so she did most of the disciplining. And I think we raised a couple of pretty good kids. My daughter's a registered nurse, and my son is in business for himself. He does business development for business and try to, is a motivational speaker, and he's doing all right for himself. Unfortunately, he divorced his first wife, and, it's nobody's fault. And sometimes people just go apart, or maybe they marry somebody that maybe they shouldn't have married, and that happens. I mean, when you're young, you're in love, or maybe you're just in heat, and you marry people that, someone that you probably shouldn't have married. And like I say, that's certainly not my daughter-in-law's fault or my son's fault necessarily. Some of his behavior I certainly didn't approve of, but I don't like to interfere. I don't think that, I think parents ruin more marriages by good intentions than anything else. They think that they're going to help, and I don't know that helps necessarily. I told my parents to mind their own damn business, and I told my wife's mom the same thing. I said, you live in Hawaii and we live in Montana. I said, we're going to have to figure out things by ourselves. And I told my parents the same thing. They lived in Connecticut. I said, well, if something goes haywire, I said, we're going to have to work it out. And I think we always have. My wife and I have certainly had our disagreements. I think anybody that's in a long-term relationship, whether it's with a member of the opposite sex as a wife or a live-in girlfriend, or whether it's two guys that are just good buddies, or two women that are just best of friends, they're going to disagree from time to time, and they're going to get mad at each other, and you just don't let it get in the way of your friendship, and you just have to decide you're going to work things out if the friendship's worth keeping or the marriage is worth keeping. And sometimes you can work it out in a marriage, and my wife and I have been very fortunate that we've always been able to work things out. And even though we've had some screaming matches, and my wife is really hot-tempered and I'm pretty easygoing, and but we've always managed to work it out, and I've been blessed that way. And I just try to, my daughter, she's been was a great blessing to my grandkids. If it hadn't been for her, I don't think they'd be as successful as they are, because there were some pretty tense times in their life growing up, and she was always there for them and helped them through the rough times. And by God, I know they appreciate that. And whenever they can, they, they want to come see her when she comes to Billings, and they take up a lot of her time. They talk to her on the phone and they visit. And in fact, they're going to go down to Kansas City, where they live, I think, coming up here in the latter part of April sometime, or in May. They're going to go down there just to visit with her. And she loves that, and I know they love that. But anyway, it's, relationships are really important. And I meet with my grandson on Sunday afternoons after he's done with church. He's a churchgoer. I'm not much churchgoer at all. My wife is, and he is, and I think that's fine, if that's important to you. But we like to meet for coffee after that at a coffee shop here in town, and we just visit and talk about just life in general, and problems that they had in their life growing up with their parents, you know, fighting, and I think it was a rocky marriage, and I think it was the best thing for both of them that his parents got my son, my daughter-in-law got divorced. It's like I say, I'm not blaming anybody. I think that sometimes you just marry the wrong person or you grow apart, and that's just part of life. It happens. Yeah, but the grandkids have a hard time dealing with that because they love both their parents, and I think they were disappointed in my son, and I was too, for that matter. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't make him less of a person. We all do. None of us are perfect. None of us do things that you know we would do if we if we could do it over. Maybe we'd do things differently. In any case, I like to visit with my grandson, and here the day before yesterday, I went up and saw my granddaughter in Bozeman. I drove all the way up there, and it's about a 2-hour drive each way, and just to have coffee and spend time with her for an hour and a half. I just enjoyed doing that, and I'm glad I did it. And I told her I was no further away than a phone call or a text message. I said, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there for you and talk to you. And she's studying to be get her PhD in biochemistry, and she's incredibly intelligent. And that puts a lot of strain on her. She's got, she puts lectures. I mean, they send her away to do lectures in other states, and she's doing very, very well. But she's, under a lot of pressure to do well, and she puts a lot of pressure on herself. So sometimes she just needs to have somebody to talk to and just, you be a sounding board for her. And I'm more than happy to do that. And I can't say how much I enjoyed just driving up to Bozeman just to be with her. It's a nice little drive in the country, and the weather was nice, a little windy around Livingston, and boy, that wind can blow up in that country. It's a place in Montana where the wind blows down what they call Paradise Valley, and when it gets to Livingston, it goes down this valley, and the valley gets narrow, and it comes through this kind of a cut in the mountains, and it's really got some force behind it when it comes out to Livingston. It blows trucks over on a regular basis up there. But in any case, it was a little breezy up there, but it wasn't bad. I drove my 4Runner up there and had a nice little drive and a great visit with my granddaughter, and had a good, late breakfast or early lunch, brunch, I guess you'd call it, and enjoyed the hell out of that. And so that's what I did the last few weekends, and so I just thought I'd share with you, but the importance of, being there for your grandkids and relationships, with your wife or your best friend or whatever it is. Be tolerant of their point of view and give them freedom to, give your wife freedom to do the things that she enjoys to do, and back her up, and she'll back you up, and let you do the things you like to do. I've never been one to tell my wife she can't do this or that. I think it's important for partner to do whatever the things that they enjoy in life. And I enjoy my wife's company. I can't tell you how much I appreciate her and everything she's done for me over the years. And I've always been there for her, and she's always been there for me. And I think that you have to be there, in any relationship, any friendship. You got to be there for each other. I remember one time my mom was telling me that, this lady that whose shoulder she cried on. My parents got divorced after they'd been married for 31 years. And when my mom went through some really tough times, there's this one lady who was her best friend, and she was crying on her shoulder all the time. Well, then when she kind of got over the divorce, and she, told me one time, she says, well, Mary seems kind of distant. And I said, well, listening to you talk, the times we visited, if things are going well, you weren't, sharing those things with her. You shared only the bad things. When you were going through a rough time before divorce first happened, you were crying on her shoulder all the time. But then as things improved, well, you never talked to her. I said, friendships, that means that that you share the good times as well as the bad. Well, I didn't want to bore her, and I said, no, you wouldn't be boring her. That's what friends are for. You know, if they're willing to listen to you when things are tough, then you got to share the happy times with them, and share that as well. You know, my mom couldn't seem to get that through her thick skull, but that's neither here nor there. But it goes to show that, you know, if you have a friend, a good friend, then you share the good times and the bad times. You know, and the happy times and the sad times. And that's what friendships are about, and that's what relationships are about. You know, you work through the bad times and you enjoy the good times, and then as you get older, when like my wife and I have been married for dang near 58 years, be 58 years in June, and here it is, you know, middle of March. You know, it's dang near 58 years, and we've had rough times and we've had some great times, and we have all those good times to look back on over the years. So just keep that in mind. You know, be there for each other, be there for your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell and let me know, you know, whether you like these little visits from time to time or not. You know, when I do these, I'll be wearing a baseball cap so I can kind of tell them, but it's just a little chat from the desk, and you know, where I just talk off the top of my head and just talk about whatever I happen to think about at that time. Well, thank you for stopping by, and I'll talk to you again.